birthday. No one showed up.
That sucks. What are we going to do?
Cancel.
Donovan Miller.
You're on Sports Radio 1310, the Tickwit, but I think he is a Rick without the R. Was that?
What?
Wait.
Osama bin Laden used Father's Day to attack black fathers.
Whoa. Osama bin Laden.
No, wait, Barack Obama.
He's not sharing, he's not sharing, he's not sharing his bread!
Jesus Christ.
Stop!
You know what? If your dog wants to eat napkins, come over here. Have another one, you moron dog.
And not a lot of people know this, but Lee Corso was actually the second person to pose nude, correct?
I'm on your show to try to help you.
And we're having fun here, no?
Yeah, that just means you're old when you're venerable. Corby.
Are you kidding? Are you kidding?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on this Thursday night to the amazing House of Blues. My name is Gary Kogel, and I am a P1. There's no place in the world I would rather be than right here, right now, at the House of Blues to celebrate 15 years of the Ticket. Dallas Dodge, inside the Ticket Studios, brought to you by the gentle folks at Star Power, All Pro Foundation Repair, and Sports Radio 1310 to Ticket. And here we go, one at a time. He is a veteran of KLIF, a veteran of The Bone, and the newest member of Bad Radio on the Ticket. Say hello to my daily dose of Donovan Lewis. Donovan. Donovan, thank you very much.
There you go.
He was rescued from Ohio radio hell and a failed stand-up comedy career. He puts the D in Bad Radio with his radio wife, Bob. Say hello to Mr. Dan McDowell. Thank you, Dan. Right there, next to Daily Donovan. He's not the guy in the next cubicle.
Go, Bob.
He sports him all the way from Lynchburg, Virginia, by way of Wisconsin. And nights on the Ticket to Bad Radio with Big Mac. Say hello to the man, the balding, Bob Stern. Right there. Thank you, Bob. Good to see you, buddy. This guy has gone from intern to weekend overnights, Saturday's teabag, to producer.
Did he skip you?
To a yuck monkey, and a member of the hard line for the last 9 years. Good Lord. Coax him out of the snake pit. Say hello to Corby Davidson.
You forgot Norm. You skipped Norm.
He is a Texas Broadcasting Hall of Famer, a 30-year veteran of sports talk radio in Dallas and Fort Worth. He's now the owner of the easiest gig on the Ticket. Weekdays, 10 till noon. You know him, you love him. He's one of the best in the planet, Norm Hitzges. Thank you, Norm. Good to see you, buddy. Right back there. He is the poster boy of underachievement. Yet, he has more jobs than anyone on the Ticket. He is a talk show host, a columnist. He's part of that Dunham and Miller morning show. Say hello to the one, the only, the great Gordo Gordon Keith. One of the original members of the pre-ticket back of the bus crew, to being a household name in morning drive radio for the past 14 years. Good Lord. Along with his partner, George, say hello to Craig Miller. God bless America. Bless America. He's the magical, mystical one. He's the voice of North Texas football. Do you believe in the mean green? Not only that, he is the voice of Texas Stadium. He's a member of those morning musers trying to keep Craig and Gordo on the right path. Say hello, Jub, George Dunham. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, to round out our panel, the man who started it all way back when. He gets the credit or the blame for the last 15 years of so many failed bits. He's the inventor of the hard line. He's the godfather of the ticket, Mr. Mike Reiner. Of course, all of tonight's questions are based on the book. So let's start with Reiner. Okay, Mike.
Reiner's dead.
So the opening chapter of the book is called Reiner's Dream. Didn't the original name, The Ticket, come from your wife, Renee?
Did. It did.
It just popped into her head one day and then came out a year later?
She is out there tonight somewhere.
Good.
But yes, it was her idea. We were brainstorming one night, and I told her I've got to come up with something to call this thing. We started trying to think of things that were germane to just about every sport, and she said, what about the ticket? And you know the rest.
Well, one thing I read in the book that I never knew is that if you're going to start a radio station, it takes not thousands, but it takes millions. And in order to get an AM radio signal, they were on kind of the end of the dial, not as strong as you really wanted. It took $3 to $5 million just to purchase the signal.
Yes. It's a lot of money.
So FM would be around 10 million.
Well, this
You can only get this stuff here, ladies and gentlemen.
Right, that's fantastic.
Oh, George is drunk.
It's a lot of money, and it's not easy to find.
No, I'm not.
In fact, at the time when you guys started this whole thing, Norm Hitzges is on another station saying it's not going to work. There's no way a sports talk station.
Nobody thought it would work.
No, wait.
Oh, yeah, you did too.
No,
you did. Norm?
Remember now, a bunch of third and seventh
went to the
stringers.
mornings. We're the first ones at KLIF to do mornings, do a morning sports talks around the country.
Right.
And no all sports stations had developed before then. Nobody's doing mornings.
Right.
And I was concerned about you guys. I really was.
Concerned?
Yeah.
Like praying, sweet Jesus.
Help them fail. Make them fail. Make them go away.
What really worried me, and I really mean this, is when you put George and Craig in the morning.
F&A, yeah! Woo!
Yeah, really did.
You can say the whole word, man.
Blasted. You are blasted, aren't you?
I'm not. I'm trying
So
to give them their money's worth. They paid $40 to be in here. Come on.
You should be sitting next to him. It's like sitting next to a gin.
Is it?
It's like a rhino. It's unbelievable.
I'm fine,
There's a
really.
good chance people are going to see your genitalia tonight.
There's a chance, baby.
Remember the quote you say about consultants? You remember it?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Oh,
You want that?
What is that quote?
Go ahead.
Oh, no, you. Right.
All of a sudden they brought in consultants because they wanted to tinker with the whole format.
They brought in a consultant.
Yeah, and
From the beginning.
And nobody really knew who he was because he's down the hallway using a fax
No, I
machine.
knew who he was.
Yeah, well, he was the evil one.
I
He
knew
was the
who
devil.
that son of a bitch was.
Hey.
And you say in the book...
I still do.
You remember the quote? You remember the quote you say about consultants? Do you remember it? Or
Oh, yeah, sure. You want that?
What is that quote, Mike?
Go ahead.
Oh, no, you. Yeah, go ahead.
Consultants are like...
Pigeons. They fly in, all over everything, and fly out.
There's one difference. You don't have to pay the pigeon.
True.
Underrated. We used to get, that consultant used to fax us every day. He would fax instructions for every show, and the program director would walk around and he'd make copies and he'd show everybody. And they were always picking on the hard line, or the consultant was always picking on the hard line. So one time, Gordo did a fake memo. His letterhead was just the same, the typeset, the language, and the consultant just ripped into the hard line and praised our show. And we got our program director in on it and called you guys in, and you bought it.
Yes. I still have that somewhere today.
You went through the roof.
It was genius.
Ladies and gentlemen, from San Antonio, Texas, George Dunham, sitting right there.
Dang right.
Not true. Chicago.
San Antonio.
Chicago.
No, I was born in San Antonio.
George is the youngest of 5 children. He's the baby of the family.
That's true.
Yeah.
The first.
You grew up a huge Cowboy fan, George.
Yes.
And in college, when you were doing radio shows and nobody would call in, you would fake voices and call in to talk to yourself, correct?
Pretty much, yeah. We didn't have any calls, so we did a Monday night show, and if Craig was hosting the show, I would come up with 3 fake voices.
And you would leave them on tape for him?
Leave them on tape, that way he could fire them off. Let's go to Dan and Denton and to be a country guy. Well, yeah, what do you think about the North Texas offense? They're going to get Corky Nelson going this year? You know, and then they would go on about that. And then we'd always leave a pause, too. Yeah. Hi, George, big fan of the show. Thank you. Here's my question. If we didn't do that, we wouldn't have any calls.
So it was a popular show at the time, and Craig, you would do the same thing for George, right?
Yep. We'd take turns. One would host one Monday, and then the guy who wasn't hosting taped 3 calls. Usually a country guy, a black guy, and then fill in. What do you mean a black guy? I don't understand.
How does that sound?
I never requested that, Mr. Donovan. I don't remember that.
I am fed up.
But it was North Texas. Everybody was just, the only people listening were in Bruce Hall, the jazz students, and they were just listening, hoping we would end soon so we'd start playing jazz. Get back to John Coltrane as soon as possible,
Now, one thing you don't know about Craig Miller is that Craig Miller actually had a jazz radio show years ago. Didn't you, Craig?
Yeah, for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You love jazz. You just love jazz. Out of college, the guy who mentored us there, Bill Mercer, he started his own station in Denton. It was a jazz station. And in the mornings, Bill would do sports. This other girl who ended up working at KRLD did news, and I did traffic. And I did traffic by listening to KRLD, writing down their traffic reports. And then I'd do traffic. And so on the weekend, I had to do a DJ shift, and it was jazz music. I didn't know much about it, so I had it for 2 weeks. It was out in a mobile home, a trailer out by Decatur, right next to our transmitter. Right. And the second Sunday morning I was out there, I was playing music that the program director didn't like, and he called me and he said, "You're talking too much. I just want you to play some upbeat stuff. It's Sunday morning, you know, just put everybody in a good mood." So I hung up the phone, and I found the darkest, most depressing 20-minute song I could find, and I put it on the turntable, and he called me, and all he said was, "Don't bother coming in next weekend, you're fired."
Very nice. So, Gordo.
Yes.
You grew up the son of a preacher.
Yes.
Which is a little different than Bob growing up, but we'll get to that in just a little bit.
Yes.
But you traveled a lot when you were little, right?
Yes, I did.
And
I moved around a lot. I don't say a lot, you know. There's like Air Force brats and things like that. They move around a lot.
But I didn't know until I read the book that you did bits for Skip Bayless in the early days when Skip was on air.
Yeah, it lasted, I think, 1 day.
And you say in the book that comedy with Skip was like
oil and water.
Thank you. Why, he just didn't get it?
No, he didn't. You know, and I was a college kid, probably pushing the boundary a little bit more than I should have on his show. I mean, it was his show, for goodness sake.
Right.
And so I think it lasted about a month, and then we got you know, I got fired, basically.
Okay, I'm listening to the radio one day, and I'm hearing the whole Lambeau Field thing, and I want you to tell the story. Will you tell the Lambeau Field story one time?
Yeah.
Who wants to hear the Lambeau Field story? Okay.
He gets up, spread eagle in the doorway like this. You're not going anywhere, sir. You're staying right here. Okay, so back in the earlier days, I used to do a lot of work with the hardline. I did a lot of stuff with the hardline. As a matter of fact, it seems like in the early days I was doing more stuff with the hardline, I think, than the gentle musers until they moved to mornings. And then
you couldn't get your ass up in the morning.
There's going to be a fight. There's going to be a fight. And so I went on a road trip with Mike and Greg up to Green Bay for the big Cowboy Green Bay game.
Woo! Jump in, Bob.
So we thought, hey, it'd be funny if I got a cell phone and tried to get in Lambeau Field before the game. And this was on Thursday, the first day of broadcast up there. I took the cell phone, and we were broadcasting from a sports bar that was just right across the street from Lambeau Field. And the place was dead. There was nothing going on at Lambeau Field, just a few security people. So I go up to a female security guard, and I said, hey, I'm with the radio. So generic. I'm with the radio. I want to go in and look around for a few minutes. And she said, okay. I go in there, and I'm broadcasting live with Mike and Greg the whole time on the cell phone. And I head down towards the field. And the whole time, they're goading me on. You know, I'm like, it's so seedy. It felt like two older gentlemen pressuring me into sexual things I didn't want to do. But I go down on the field, and they're telling me stuff to yell out, and I'm yelling out, Bart Starr is not that great. Jerry Kramer was offsides. I'm gay.
Mark?
And so while I'm out there running around the field, and the place is completely empty, so I think I'm in the clear, then this guy shows up at the far end zone. Little short, squatty guy with a ruddy face. So the guy turns out to be the head of security. He takes me back to his office, talking to Mike and Greg on the phone and broadcasting to the P1s the whole time, explaining to them what's going on. We go in this guy's little seedy office, and he's holding me in there, and he's not telling me what's going on. And finally he says, I've called the cops, and they're on their way. And I say, well, you don't have any authority to keep me here. I'm leaving. So I start to try to leave. He gets up, spread eagle in the doorway like this. You're not going anywhere, sir. You're staying right here. Or you're not going anywhere, sir. You're staying right here. You want a pop? Or whatever they sound like. And so I pulled a very Marx Brothers, Three Stooges maneuver, and I scooted between the guy's legs and left. So
that was his favorite part of the maneuver, by the way.
So I'm leaving, and right as I'm almost out of the stadium, I heard sirens as I'm approaching the exit of the stadium, so I know the cops truly are on their way. I hear the cop car screech to a halt somewhere back behind me, almost out the gate, and I hear footfalls coming up very fast behind me, the clomp of a policeman's shoes or boots. Not unlike these I'm wearing tonight. These look very Valkyrie to me. I don't know why. But, so I almost get out. I feel someone grab me from behind, rip my shirt, spin me around. I'm so aroused at this point. It's a cop. He puts handcuffs on me. He takes the phone. We were still broadcasting all the way up until this point.
Yes.
And you hear me saying, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? That's my phone. And you hear it bleep off. He turns the phone off. Something like that. And then Hardline goes into complete denial on this, and it just ended. Mike basically says, oh, no, I think we're in trouble now. And then, well, the Rangers are looking good. And little did I know, as I'm being cuffed, thrown in the back of the car, that my broadcast partners have completely abandoned me and are resigned to a life without me. They're fine. And then finally, about 3 hours later, they had to wait for these guys to get off the air, and I didn't find out until later there was some talk about pulling a practical joke on me and leaving me there overnight.
Should have.
But Mike and Greg came up with the bail money, and they bailed me out of that. And then the next day, we told this whole story in an elongated fashion.
Is it your only time ever in jail?
That's the only time I've ever been in jail. That's exactly right. I haven't been arrested, thank God,
Okay,
Gary.
what's the deal between...
Unlike you. Do you want to get into that? Are we doing any tell-all about...
I want to bring Norm into this, because at some point, you went after Norm and Norm went after you.
Yeah.
It was years ago.
Yes.
Why'd you do that?
Well, I didn't go after Norm to, the thing I'm thinking of specifically is the JFK situation, which is one of my most horrible broadcast miscalculations. We were on the air, it was a Saturday program we used to do called The Rant, and it was the most irresponsible bit of broadcasting you've ever heard was that show.
It was like 3 hours of made-up stuff.
It was 3 hours, and the idea for The Rant was we just went in and really turned on the microphones and just started improvising and getting crazy. And
so what did you say to anger Norm?
Well, the JFK thing in particular came down and on our watch, and his plane was missing. And I'm thinking, well, they'll find him somewhere. You know, they didn't know he had really crashed. They didn't find a crash site, anything like that. And we handled it immaturely for one reason, and that is the fates allowed John Kennedy's plane to go down off a place called Gay Head, and we couldn't handle that. I wasn't even responsible for the worst of it. And Corby, you worked on the show at that time, I believe, didn't you? Were you there then?
Yeah.
And I had an all-star team of, I think Corby was either board operator, producer, and Davey was the other one.
Yeah.
So I mean, there was not one.
It was like the '85 Bears defense.
Darkness. Sports reset.
Sweet.
But then Davey makes the comment that was the most unfortunate comment on the air. He said that we were talking about the difference between landing in the water versus landing on land, which would you have a greater chance of surviving in the middle of a frozen ocean or land, which is, obviously is a lot rougher to land on. And Davey makes a comment, well, I think it's better to land in water because if he lands on land, I can't even repeat this comment. It makes me so tense.
It's too dark.
This is so dark.
What'd you say?
I didn't say it. Davey said, if he lands on land, he'll probably be compressed down to the size he was when he saluted his dead daddy's coffin.
Isn't that terrible?
It's horrible.
And that's why we sided with Norm in this argument.
It's not me. And so Davey says that. Anyway, it was an irresponsible show. There's blame all the way around. But anyway, Norm took issue with it, and Monday, Norm went on a rant about how he heard this over on the ticket.
No pun intended.
And we were sister stations at the time.
Right.
And Norm goes on a rant on Cliff that everyone who works for that station should be fired, and after the boss fires him, that boss should be fired too. They didn't mind us doing Norm and Andy Panda. What they were really offended by was the sexual relationship we had given the two.
Dunkirk, New York, the great Norm Hitzges. I might add that getting ready to celebrate, getting close to 40 years in broadcasting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Norm.
Wow.
Thank you.
How old are you, Corby?
Okay, Norm.
I'm not 40 yet, Norm.
So, Norm, let's bring you into this, Norm, because all this friction's going on here and there. And how did you end up handling it?
Well, I listened to the ticket. I tried to listen as much as I could because I regarded them as competition. I was listening Saturday, and I thought...
Why were you listening to the rant?
There may be the best question of the night.
Thank you.
Why was I listening to the rant? And I heard this, and I was offended. I was really offended. And I couldn't wait to get back on Monday morning to say how offended I was and suggest that whoever was employed doing that show should be basically sweeping up someplace else, and that they should be summarily dismissed. And I happen to pick out Gordon especially for some reason.
I don't know why.
Wonder why.
Great.
I'm reading in the book about this auto accident. I don't know if you know this, but Norm pretty much is a walking miracle, even with a cane. But in 1970, Norm Hitzges was hit head-on in a car wreck. A woman came across the road, hit you head-on. At one point, a priest came into the hospital, according to the book, full disclosure, and gave Norm Hitzges, read him his last rites. Is that true?
Yeah, I got last rites. Yeah, I was given last rites when I walked in. And the doctor, they cut all my clothes off. They have that thing where they cut all your clothes
Hey
off.
now.
Oh, it's
Hey
so
now.
hard. Oh, it's so hard.
Slower. Say it slower.
Sorry to get you aroused again, Gordon. And the doctor, literally, after they x-ray you from top to bottom, came in and said,
You're not circumcised. Thank you.
That's true, by the way.
that actually was the second thing he said. First thing he said was, you've broken more useless bones than anybody I've seen in a long time.
Including the one between your legs. Ever since I've suffered from a right angle there, I can do it around corners.
Norm, are you offended when they impersonate you?
Heavens, no. As soon as I heard them doing the fake Norm, Andy Panda, my brother Phil, who couldn't be here tonight, I really enjoy. I'm serious. I took that as a real compliment. I took it as a real compliment.
The week of the gay head incident, you remember that? Tell that story again.
What?
Okay, so I don't know if y'all remember JFK died.
I remember management banned you guys from doing Norm and Andy.
Yeah. But
And that week I was driving in, and I heard the Norm and Andy music and the Norm and Andy voices, but it was Bo and Jim.
That was a cheap workaround. This is what I remember, is that they didn't mind us doing Norm and Andy Panda. What they were really offended by was the sexual relationship we had given the two.
Norm thinks it's funny.
See, he's laughing. Norm's laughing.
I'm sorry, but I found a lot of the bits really funny. You know, I really did. I thought they were funny.
Even when you Panda.
Whoa!
Snake.
All right, okay.
Okay, let's go to Corby a little bit. Corby, how'd you get hooked up with all this mess? Because in the early days, you were producing.
Yeah.
In the early days, you were doing a lot of the grunt work for all the other guys.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you started getting on the air. How'd that start happening for you?
I was producing Chris Arnold's show from like 96 to 99. And
oh, that's right. All right.
Yeah, that's right.
You basically came in and replaced Grego. Correct?
Last year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You stabbed Grego in the back, I think, Corby.
Yeah.
That happened.
Tell that story.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, and in the book,
Where
and
is
in the book,
Grego?
and in the book, full disclosure. Wait a second. And in the book, when you replaced Grego, there was a flood of emails just mad as a hornet about.
Well,
you
because
being
there
on
was
the
an
air.
article written in the paper
Right.
or in the Observer where
That's
I
not
wasn't
really a paper.
quoted, and it just made me look like I was hiding from everything. When in reality, I didn't want to go on there and trash what Grego had done.
Right, but all those emails hurt your feelings.
Oh God, I've had way worse than that.
Yeah.
No.
And of course, you guys even keep in touch at all anymore? Or? Is there any relationship at all with him?
No.
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 All right.
I've talked to him. I've talked to him several times since then. And we should say, I mean, I think a lot of the ticket guys up here get slammed, and Mike and Corby were obviously the closest to the Grego situation, and they just went through hell with Grego. But all of us up here love Grego, and when the time we had with Grego was great, and he is a really unique and special person to all of us.
And I don't want anybody to think that I don't value what we had together and what we did together. I don't want anybody to think that doesn't mean anything to me, because it does. It means a lot to me, and I do value that, but it just took a really, really bad turn.
And how many stations has that been your title?
The black guy?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Hey, that's what Norm called him for the first 2 years.
All right, here's a question for you. How many of you in the audience thought Rocco Pendola was fantastic? Raise your hand if you thought he was truly awful on the radio. Say hello to the man. Say hello to the man who replaced Rocco Pendola, Bob Stern. Okay, who is Sandy Purbyville?
That's my gay lover.
This is, I went to a Christian school from first grade till 12th grade.
No.
And actually...
I did. And
actually, every night before you went to bed, you had to memorize a Bible verse after your homework.
Okay. But...
Yes.
But
I find that admirable.
Sandy was the only girl. I mean, there were two people in my class, my first grade class, me and Sandy.
How small was the school? It was a school of two.
I think the whole school was like 100, but my recruiting class was really small. So it was just me and her till 6th grade. And
how many 5 stars were in that?
Very few. And then in 7th grade, she moved away. 4 people moved in to make 7th grade 5 people, including my wife now.
Right.
And then she was the only girl in my grade.
So you married your childhood sweetheart?
Yeah. Well, she didn't like me then, but I wore her down.
Whoops.
After a while.
Hey, now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but they do a search and end up, there's a phone call that changes Dan's life. Did it change your life or at
Dan,
all?
Are we to me? What? Positive.
Yeah.
It was April 1st in Dayton when they called me in, and I was the big time. I thought I was big time because I was in Dayton.
You were big time in Dayton.
And I was the 3 to 7 show, and we all know that's where it's at. And they really hated me there. And they called me in that day, April 1st, and said, we're changing your shift to 5 to 9. It's going to be great. You're going to be able to do so many great things. And I knew it was a demotion, even though they were telling me that it wasn't. And that's when I had ended up calling around, sending out some resumes, whatnot, and I got a call back from Bruce right around then, who said...
You got a call back from somebody who actually listened to your tape.
You're right. From Bruce Gilbert, our former program director and my savior. And he said, meet me in Indianapolis, so I drove there the next day. He was in Indianapolis for something, I don't know what.
S&M convention.
And I ended up getting flown in and did a 2-hour Saturday show with Bob and fell in love.
From Oak Cliff, Texas, Donovan Lewis. Okay, was there a point on the radio where you, how do I say this? Where you got angry because you're the only black guy on an all-white station?
Am I black? What the hell? I need to call my mom.
No, because I call you Donovan.
Yeah,
by the way, we've worked together for years. We have.
Yeah, there was a...
Like, aren't you used to that by now? How many stations has that been your title?
The black guy?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Hey, that's what Norm called him for the first 2 years. Hey, that black kid that runs around here, will you tell him?
Norm wasn't even that PC, though. The little
looks like
colored
he needs
boy,
a job.
he talks a lot.
Wow.
Oh, hey, tell the Norm story.
Oh, okay, so we're
This
in
is
the
the
meeting
best.
room. There's a refrigerator, and excuse me, Norm, there's a disgusting refrigerator in the conference room that's filled with pickled beets and just the grossest stuff ever. So we're sitting there in the meeting room and say, who eats this crap? And they say, it's Norm. So we go into the studio for the mix, and Bob brings up pickled beets. It's just disgusting. And I said, yes, Norm, that's pretty disgusting, pickled beets. And everyone else was talking, but Norm, I don't know why I pissed him off that day. But Norm just looked at me and said, come on, you eat chitlins. And I said, Norm, I don't. I've never had one before in my life, and I really don't.
And Norm was so taken of, yes, you do.
I'm like,
You
no,
do.
I really don't.
All of you do.
Do we have a question in the balcony first?
Yeah, I've often wondered. Well, first I'd like to ask Grego or Gordo to do Little Girl Grego.
What's that?
I'd like you to do some Little Girl Grego.
Little Girl Grego was an incarnation. I have no idea what the genesis of this was, but it was a Grego as a little girl, and he always wore petticoats and rode side saddle.
Mama says I can have a coming out party when I have my first period.
Yeah, that's.
We need more of that on air. Damn it.
Very nice.
It's awful.
Why don't I do that on air? Because it sucks.
I piss my pants every time you do it.
Well, I'm sure those people down there just enjoyed that.
Up there. There you go.
It's a comment more than a question, but after 15 years of tumultuous radio in the Dallas market, I really just have one comment, and that is vaginal slice born.
Yes!
Yeah, I have a question. Who let that dumbass in the building?
You like that?
No, it's not funny.
Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your courage.
You guys want to know where vaginal slice born came from?
Where?
So, Gordon and I, one time, we were in the studio, and we were getting ready to do some bit. And so I'd written out Gordon's part, and so I handed it to him. My penmanship is atrocious.
And by the way, I want to comment on the way Corby used to write bits. Hey, Gordon, can you come in here? I need you to do this voice for this bit and everything. Okay, yeah, what time come up there? All right, I'll be up there. And I'd get up there. He goes, oh, don't worry about it, man. It's all written out. I got the whole thing. It's written. Done. And I'd get up there, and there'd be 2 lines written in his chicken scratch. And there's no bit written. He would always sucker me up there.
And then I'd start dying laughing as he walks in, and I'm crying.
Then I'd have to write a whole bit with him.
So I'd written something, and I hand it to him, and he goes, does this say vaginal slice born?
That was my interpretation.
We were in the studio. We buckled over laughing.
I told him, I said, okay,
like
I'm going to read this exactly the way you have written it.
Do you remember what it said? What it really said?
I don't remember.
Something completely different than that.
Yeah, there was no vaginal slice or born in it. I know that.
Good. And how that made it on the air, and much less a catchphrase, I don't know.
No, not at all. Norm doesn't think it's funny. Bob doesn't think it's funny.
It's not supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be meaningful.
I'm sorry, Gary.
Snake.
So.
Right there.
My question's for the snake.
Yes.
Do you keep in touch with the stinky girl, and can I have her number?
You know, it's funny you bring that up. Because I was at the, I was at a restaurant the other night. It may have been the hardest I've ever laughed. Corby and I went out on a double date one night at a restaurant with two females, and we get a little wine in us, and I started prodding Corby to tell the stinky girl story to his girl and mine there. Total bad idea. And Corby tells this story in the middle of the restaurant, and we were darn near asked to leave. We're in the middle of the restaurant dying laughing as Corby is telling his experience about this gynecological disaster he experienced. And I think that it's time that we dust off the stinky girl story and Corby tells it.
Well, first off, in the restaurant, we were blasted.
Yeah.
And so, look, it wasn't even a girlfriend. I went on like a couple of dates with a girl, and by the time it got down to that point where the fun started, the fun also ended within about 20 seconds.
And she was hot, wasn't she? She was good looking.
Yeah.
It only took 2 dates, huh? Snake.
Hey.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. But anyway, so that's essentially the story of the girl. Well, we're at dinner, and we're hammered, and so he's trying to get me to tell the girls a story, and he's egging me on, and our faces are red because we're starting to laugh, and he's like, well, what? And I'm trying to be all clinical and medical about it, and what's wrong and how, and he's like, but what are you getting to? What's going on? And this goes on for like 15 minutes, and the girls are just sitting there just staring at us going, what are these guys doing? He keeps egging me on, egging me on, and egging me on. And I'm like, look, she's got a smelly okay?
Whoa.
I'm sorry, Gary.
Snake. So.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Out of control.
So, family of 4 cleared out right beside us.
That is when he and I literally lost it.
Thank you for telling that story.
Now wait, this girl, you've run into her since then, haven't you? Not the girl that night that we were having dinner, but the girl who actually had the gynecological issue.
No, I've not.
I swear you've run into her.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being patient. One last round of applause, Mr. Donovan Lewis. Mr. Dan McDowell. Mr. Bob Sturm. Corby Davidson. The great Norm Hitzges. Gordon Keith. Craig Miller. George Dunham. The old gray wolf, Mike Reiner. Thank you very much.
I've always thought we had very little to offer, but somehow people like it.
I learned that I fail in front of live audiences as much as I fail on radio, and thank you for bringing up that hurt.
I don't remember any of it. I was blitzed out of my mind, so I really have no idea what just happened. I think the favorite part is just waking up every day and getting to work with someone who I've been friends with for 25 years and someone I've been friends with for 15 years. Not many people get to do that.
That I get to broadcast in the nude each and every morning, and no one says a word about it.
The fact that I've never felt like I'm working a day in my life. I mean, if this is a tough night or if this is a day at work, I'm very, very pleased that I don't have to work for a living.
There was the birth of my first daughter tonight, then the birth of my second daughter, and then the night that I got married when I first had sex.
I always thought that Donovan ate chitlins until tonight, but I learned that he didn't, so it was like school.
I didn't think the ticket was going to last beyond 3 months, and I'm kind of pissed that it has lasted beyond 3 months.
He being a newbie, I expected to say 5 words, and I said about 50, so I exceeded my expectations tenfold.
I think another one of the keys is what good friends we are. And the last few years, having the house that we stayed in for a week together, I think that's really an indication of how good friends we are.
You haven't even answered my question. You offer Todd Zeal.
You are an apologist.
I'm sorry. That's it. That's it.